Good morning, and welcome to the Good News on Thursday, the 24th of June, 2021. Our gospel reading today comes from John chapter 3, verses 22 to 30. After this, Jesus and his disciples went into the Judean countryside, and he spent some time there with them and baptized. John was also baptizing at Aenon near Salem, because water was abundant there, and people kept coming and were being baptized. John, of course, had not yet been thrown into prison. Now a discussion about purification arose between John's disciples and a Jew. They came to John and said to him, "Rabbi, the one who was with you across the Jordan, to whom you testified, here he is baptizing, and all are going to him." John answered, "No one can receive anything except what he has been given by heaven. You yourselves are my witnesses that I said, 'I am not the Messiah, but I have been sent ahead of him.' He who has the bride is the bridegroom. The friend of the bridegroom who stands and hears him rejoices greatly at the bridegroom's voice. For this reason my joy has been fulfilled. He must increase, but I must decrease." Today is the feast day of John the Baptist. He is a pivotal figure in the Bible and is seen as the last prophet of the Old Testament and the first of the New. Although the Gospel of John is not one of the synoptic Gospels, like his predecessors Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John begins Jesus' ministry with the story of John baptizing in the Jordan. He emphasizes the Baptist's role as prophet by attributing to him statements that make it clear that he is not the Messiah, but that he has been sent ahead to pave the way for Christ, who is the Messiah. This key figure in the biblical narrative was the son of Elizabeth, a relative, possibly a cousin of the Virgin Mary, and Zachariah, a temple priest. Elizabeth had been unable to conceive and was postmenopausal. The angel Gabriel appeared to her and told her that she would have a son. He also appeared to Zachariah to let him know what was going to happen. Elizabeth went to see Mary to let her know the good news, only to discover that Mary was also with child. The two rejoiced at their miraculous conceptions, and John was born 6 months before Jesus. By the time we meet John in the canonical Gospels, he is baptizing people and has amassed a considerable number of followers who think he is the long-anticipated Messiah. It is likely that he was associated with the Essenes, Jewish separatists who espoused messianic beliefs and harbored apocalyptic ideas. They turned their backs on what they saw as corrupt temple practices in Jerusalem and formed an ascetic community in the inhospitable Judean desert, where they lived in caves at Qumran. Austere in their dress, diet, and lifestyle, they took ritual baths and ate sacred meals which anticipate the Christian sacraments of baptism and Eucharist. Seeing ritual bathing as a means of purification, they built a great cistern to catch rainwater and a bath which can be seen to this day. We know a lot about them as they recorded their beliefs and practices in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which they hid in caves and canopic jars. There they remained until the first were discovered in 1946. John was an Essete. He wore a camel hair garment secured with a leather belt and lived on locusts, a type of beans, and honey. He was a fiery preacher who modeled his ministry after prophets such as Elijah. Calling for repentance and purification, he did not use the officially designated pools for ritual purification, but flowing river water. Archaeologists have discovered the site mentioned in this text at Aenon, a widening of the River Jordan near Salem in Samaria. At the time John wrote this gospel, around 100 CE, there was a crisis of faith in Jesus, as many believed that John the Baptist was the Messiah. The evangelist began this passage by telling us that Jesus had begun his ministry and that he and his disciples were also baptizing. John's followers believed that John was the Messiah and were concerned that Jesus was attracting more adherents than John. John made it clear to them that he was not the Messiah, but that he had been sent to prepare the way for the Messiah. He used a metaphor to describe his relationship to Jesus, telling them that he was the best man. Not the best man, but a friend of the best man. He told them that he rejoiced at this turn of events, and that, as Jesus' ministry grew, his would shrink. John was not afraid to speak truth to power, and castigated Herod for divorcing his own wife and marrying his brother's wife. For this, John was arrested and thrown into prison. Herod offered his stepdaughter, Salome, anything she wanted for her birthday, after she pleased him by dancing at a banquet. After consulting her mother, Salome asked for the head of John the Baptist. Herod had John executed immediately, and his head was brought to the feast on a platter. Despite his death at about the age of 30, and his attempt to redirect them to Jesus, followers of John the Baptist, known as Mandaeans, exist to this day. The phrase, "He must increase, but I must decrease," is one of the many riddles in the Gospel of John. Augustine called this phrase a great mystery and attempted to explain it in his tractates. He concluded that this transformation is made possible by the grace of God, and it is no longer I that live, but Christ lives in me. That is, he must increase, but I must decrease. Have you ever been in a situation where you promoted someone else at your own expense, or passed the baton to a successor upon retirement? This is one of the most difficult and selfless things to do, but it is also a sign of maturity. As John the Baptist said, no one can receive anything except what has been given from heaven. We have all been given certain gifts, and each of us has to discern what they are and how to use them to help bring about the kingdom. Unless we are seen to have it ourselves, we need to support those who have received the charism of leadership. Like John the Baptist, we all have the potential to be change agents and pave the way for generations to come. We may not live to see the outcome, but that is no reason to sit back. Like John, we may have to speak truth to power, and we need to support those that do. South of the border, Joe Biden and the Democrats are struggling to try to protect the future of democracy, while Republicans are doing their best to disenfranchise Black voters. Biden knows that he too will be too old to serve a second term, and that he must do all he can during his first term before passing the baton to his successor. All those who are speaking out risk becoming targets of Donald Trump and his white supremacist followers. On the feast of John the Baptist, let us remember the prophet who Jesus referred to as a burning and shining light. Let us give thanks for the prophets among us and help them pave the way to a better future, one designed to bring about the kingdom on earth. Thank you for being part of this wonderful community of faith. Have a good day.